All right, so today we're going to talk about something that's a little different. We're going to talk about westernization of animated properties from Japan. And the reason why I'm talking about this is that a lot of stuff normally stays the same. They normally keep a lot of core narratives, but they tend to change things for no apparent reason. Like my personal favorite is they took out rice balls from Pokemon and they added a foot long sandwich. Why? No reason. I guess they just assumed that American kids and kids in Canada didn't understand that a rice ball is edible, even though they're eating them. Like, they just assumed that we couldn't put two and two together. So the reason why I'm talking about this is this localization in the West, like especially during the 90s and early 2000s, is what brought us some of the dumbest decisions I've ever seen. Like, for example, they would name him Gary in Pokemon. No real reason. They also would hit the anime and manga for Battle Angel Alita, which was actually called Gunham. Gunham. Yeah, it was supposed to mean Gun Dream. So they took that name. They thought that we were too stupid to understand a title, so they got rid of it, and then they made Battle Angel Alita. All because of the localizer's opinion, which is in here, mind you, explaining that he didn't think that the name sounded good, even though it was the original title. And he decided that the girl looked innocent, so he brought the word angel in it, but she also liked to fight people, so he put battle in it. And then he took the name Alita, because her original name was Gally. And he didn't like the name Gally. He didn't think it would sit well with people in Europe and North America. And he gave her the name Alita. Now, fun fact, he got this name from a baby's name book, which he just so happened to find when he was walking down the street in San Francisco, and there was a book selling place right there. And he picked up the baby name book, and he just opened the book, and that's how he found Alita. There was literally no other context besides that on the localization of the title. And me personally, I think it's dumb. I think it's absolutely stupid the way localizers back in the 90s and 2000s did this. But I mean, it is what it is. It's how they butchered shows like Speed Racer. It's how they butchered like the original Gundams. It's just how they did things. Now things got better over time because a lot of people that grew up with animation and everything started to get into localizing and doing voice acting and all this, and they tried to start keeping it as original as possible. But at the same time, we got a lot of goofy stuff over the years, and my personal favorite things that they butchered was the franchise Kunio-kun. Now, Kunio-kun is a pretty famous franchise in Japan. It didn't really make it outside of Japan because Western localization, we didn't really tend to connect them. We just tended to take a game, change the title, change a lot of stuff about it, westernize it, and then re-release it, and it would change a lot of details. So to give you an idea, this pretty much has a very similar plot to Yu Yu Hakusho. This gentleman right here is a somewhat of a bully, but he's a good bully. He bullies, but he protects his own. Like, you can't bully my people that I'm bullying. That's my territory. Stop bullying my people. That kind of stuff. It's a funny game, and it's kind of meant as a comedy. And you'll notice the styles. Like, you can see them on the back. You'll see like the art styles in various games and various cartoons because this is a famous franchise. But when they brought it to the West, they did stuff like this. Yeah, like I don't understand why you would change it to World Cup Soccer when it's part of this franchise. You know, it's weird stuff like that. And they changed names. They cut out entire narratives. Like this game, they cut out the entire story, which makes no real sense. Like, why would you do that? And what's crazy is that the localization ended up making the franchise River City, and they kind of tried to revive the River City franchise a few times, and for the most part, when they did the River Cities, they kind of kept the story somewhat the same. But the early games on the Nintendo and the Super Nintendo really suffered from localization. And they really just like butchered it. They changed color palettes. They did all kinds of stuff. And the insane thing is that they made this River City franchise. And that franchise actually branched off. And that became Double Dragon. Kunio-kun is the reason why we got Double Dragon. We started with Kunio-kun, which is a great, funny comedy franchise. It's pretty great. It's a beat-em-up franchise. They kind of like made the genre. And then that ended up becoming River City. And then River City ended up branching off and becoming Double Dragon. Now, when Double Dragon came here, the company kind of like let the Western Division kind of like do what they want. And that, for the most part, ended up making the Double Dragon games, which really blew up. And those games ended up turning into a few different things. And what I'm really going to point out is that gap between Japan and the West, with them letting the Western people do what they want, they took Double Dragon's fame and they started branching out. They made like the animated cartoon, which is a great standalone, but a horrible interpretation of the game. And of course, then they made the live action movie, which ended up, bombing and all that kind of stuff. And then it left this weird scenario where the localization kind of made like 3 franchises by accident. Because Double Dragon ended up pairing up with like Battletoads, and ended up doing like all these different things. So it became its own thing because of Western localization. But at the same time, the Western localization butchered and ruined a lot of the original franchise for us to enjoy. So when this game came out a few years ago, because this never released in English, and if you get it in like Korean, for example, you get the English games that are the ones that we translated and ruined, but we also get the Japanese game in their original entirety, and it also has like the Double Dragons. It's interesting to see the differences between them, and it's like I don't grasp why they would make some changes. Like I understand like the food thing in Pokemon. I understand like, oh, maybe a name is like too hard to pronounce, like Haruhi might be a little hard to pronounce in the West, but at the same time, why did you change his shirt from white to brown? Why? And it's really weird because they took this Western mentality that kids were too dumb to grasp things, and it was across the board. It was across the board. Every time we brought an anime from Japan, for example, we butchered it. We changed a lot of things, like in Tenchi Muyo, there's scenes where they're in hot tubs and they're naked. So obviously that's not going to go well in the West. So they drew over the original animation styles, which ruined them, mind you, and they put bathing suits on everyone. Instead of just giving it a higher rating, they put bathing suits on everyone. So it's really weird because you have some shows that tried to be loyal to the source material. Like you got like Galaxy Express 999. They tried their best to be loyal and keep it to the original plot and everything. And then you have other shows like Sergeant Frog. Or you have stuff like Lupin, where it's like they had to change like major aspects that made no apparent sense. No reason to do it. They just had to do it, and it is what it is. But it's really goofy seeing the difference. And let me know your opinion on Western localization, because I've seen it applied in video games, and I've seen it applied in animation, and I've seen it applied in Japanese comics, and I don't understand why they would make some of those decisions. It's really fascinating seeing it. So if you're in a different country, let me know how localization affected your stuff, because I really would love to know how your local individuals interpreted this stuff. All right, everybody, Harry here. Peace. Thank you for watching.